Child is drowning while the crowd stands frozen. One woman dares to dive into the cold river, not knowing the secret behind the little girl she's saving, a secret that will forever tie her fate to a Lakota chief. Thank you so much for watching and for all your comments. Let me know at the end if you liked the story, and where you're watching from and why you're following this. The summer of 1876 brought scorching heat to the Dakota Territory. The small settlement of Riverdale, nestled along the Missouri River, had been established just 3 years prior, attracting settlers seeking fortune and a new beginning on the frontier. Martha Wilson, a 30-year-old widow, stood by the riverbank washing clothes. Unlike most settlers, Martha held no prejudice against the native people. Having lost her husband to pneumonia during their journey west, she managed a small homestead on her own, earning respect from even the most hardened frontiersmen. The Missouri flowed lazily that afternoon as children played nearby under their mother's watchful eyes. Martha noticed a group of townspeople gathered further upstream, pointing and shouting. Following their gaze, her heart stopped. A small child, no more than 5 years old, struggled in the current. "Someone help," cried a woman, clutching her own child tightly. Martha watched in disbelief as the men stood frozen, muttering among themselves. "It's an Indian child," one man said dismissively. "Probably fell from a canoe upstream." Without hesitation, Martha dropped her washing and ran along the bank, keeping pace with the struggling child. "For God's sake, someone help that child," she shouted. Sheriff Thomas Brooks held back the crowd. "Stay put, folks. We don't need anyone else drowning today." Martha couldn't believe what she was hearing. "That's a child drowning. How can you just watch?" The sheriff's face hardened. "That's a Lakota child, Martha. We've had enough trouble with them already. Best not to get involved." Martha looked at the faces around her. Fear, indifference, even hatred. Making her decision, she kicked off her boots and dove into the cold river. The current was stronger than it appeared, pulling at her dress and threatening to drag her under. She fought against it, swimming with determined strokes toward the small figure now barely keeping afloat. "Hold on, little one," Martha called out, hoping her voice would give the child strength to keep fighting. As she drew closer, Martha could see it was a little girl with long black hair plastered across her terrified face. The child's eyes widened at the sight of Martha, a mix of fear and desperate hope. Just as the girl began to sink, Martha lunged forward, grabbing her arm and pulling her close. "I've got you," Martha gasped, struggling to keep them both above water. The girl clung to her, small fingers digging into Martha's shoulders. The return journey to shore was grueling. Martha's sodden clothes weighed her down, and the child's panicked grip made swimming difficult. With each stroke, Martha prayed for strength, knowing 2 lives depended on her reaching the shore. When her feet finally touched the riverbed, Martha staggered toward the bank, cradling the exhausted child. The townspeople watched in silence as she collapsed on the grass, the little girl still clutched protectively in her arms. Sheriff Brooks approached cautiously. "That wasn't wise, Martha. You don't know what trouble this might bring." Martha caught her breath, brushing wet hair from the child's face. "The only trouble here is watching a child drown and doing nothing, Thomas." The little girl coughed up water, her eyes fluttering open to reveal deep brown irises filled with fear. Martha spoke softly. "You're safe now, little one. Everything will be all right." As if understanding her tone, if not her words, the child relaxed slightly in Martha's arms. Emma Parker, the town's midwife, pushed through the crowd. "Bring her to my house, Martha. We need to get her warm." As Martha carried the child through town, whispers followed them. "That's Lakota," someone muttered. "They'll come looking for her." "And heaven help us when they do," another replied. At Emma's home, they removed the child's wet clothes and wrapped her in warm blankets. Though the girl didn't speak English, her wary eyes followed their every movement. "What will you do with her?" Emma asked, placing a cup of warm tea in Martha's hands. Martha sipped the tea, considering. "Find her people, of course. She must have family searching for her." "The Lakota camps are days away," Emma warned. "And relations haven't been friendly since gold was discovered in the Black Hills." Martha stroked the child's hair gently. "She's just a little girl, Emma. Whatever disputes exist between her people and ours, she deserves to be returned safely." As night fell, Martha settled the girl into a makeshift bed. The child's eyes remained wide open, watching Martha with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. "Sleep now," Martha whispered, humming a lullaby her mother had sung to her. Gradually, the girl's eyelids grew heavy, and she drifted to sleep. Martha watched the child's peaceful face, wondering about the family that must be desperate to find her. What she didn't know was that the child's father, Chief Running Wolf of the Lakota, had already dispatched warriors to search for his beloved daughter, Morning Star. And among those warriors was Swift Eagle, the tribe's most skilled tracker and the chief's trusted friend. As Martha finally succumbed to exhaustion herself, a figure watched Emma's cabin from the shadows of the tree line. Swift Eagle had tracked the child to the settler's town and now observed silently, planning how to retrieve Morning Star without bloodshed. The dawn painted the sky in shades of pink and gold as Martha awoke with a start. For a moment, she forgot the events of the previous day, but the sight of the small Lakota girl curled beside her brought everything rushing back. The child slept peacefully, her long black hair fanned across the pillow, her small hand clutching Martha's nightgown. A soft knock at the door announced Emma's arrival with a tray of breakfast. "How is she?" the midwife whispered. "Sleeping soundly now," Martha replied. "She had nightmares through the night. I can only imagine what she's been through." Emma set down the tray and peered at the child. "You know the town's in an uproar. Sheriff Brooks has called a meeting. They're saying you've put everyone in danger." Martha's jaw tightened. "By saving a drowning child, I'd do it again in a heartbeat." "I know you would," Emma said with a small smile. "That's why we all admire you, Martha. But these are frightening times. The army's been pushing the Lakota hard since gold was found in their sacred hills." The child stirred, her dark eyes opening to find Martha's face. For a moment, fear flickered across her features before recognition set in. She sat up quickly, eyes darting around the unfamiliar room. "Good morning, little one," Martha said softly. She picked up a small bowl of porridge from the tray. "Are you hungry?" The girl didn't respond, but watched warily as Martha demonstrated eating a spoonful. After a moment's hesitation, the child accepted the spoon Martha offered, her hunger overcoming her caution. "She needs a name," Emma remarked, "at least until we find her people." Martha watched the girl eat. "I think she has a name, one given with love. We just don't know it yet." After breakfast, Martha tried to communicate with the child, pointing to herself and saying, "Martha." She repeated the gesture several times until understanding dawned in the girl's eyes. Pointing to herself, the child whispered, "Wichapi." Then, more confidently, "Wichapi, Wichapi," Martha repeated, smiling. "It's beautiful. What does it mean, I wonder?" Emma shook her head. "No way to know without someone who speaks Lakota." Martha helped Wichapi dress in a small shift Emma had found. "I need to go into town for supplies. We'll need to find her family, and that means traveling." Emma's eyes widened. "You can't be serious, Martha. The Lakota territories are dangerous for a white woman alone." "I won't be alone," Martha said, glancing at Wichapi. "I'll have a guide." Outside Emma's cabin, Martha and Wichapi were met with stares from passers-by. The town had clearly heard about the rescued Lakota child. Sheriff Brooks intercepted them before they reached the general store. "Martha, the town council wants a word," he said, his hand resting meaningfully on his gun belt. "About what?" Martha asked, though she knew the answer. "About harboring an Indian child and the danger it puts our community in," he replied grimly. "Chief Running Wolf's daughter went missing yesterday. There are rumors his warriors are searching the area." Martha's heart raced. "This is Chief Running Wolf's daughter? All the more reason to return her safely." "Return her? Martha, that chief has killed settlers before." "And how many of his people have been killed by settlers?" Martha challenged. "This child could be a path to peace, not more bloodshed." Sheriff Brooks sighed heavily. "The council meeting is at noon. Bring the girl." He tipped his hat and walked away. In the general store, Martha gathered supplies while Wichapi stayed close, her small hand clutching Martha's skirt. The storekeeper's wife, Mrs. Peterson, approached cautiously. "Is it true?" she whispered. "Is she the chief's daughter?" Martha nodded. "According to the sheriff, all the more reason to ensure her safe return." Mrs. Peterson glanced around before slipping a small beaded bracelet onto Wichapi's wrist. "My husband traded for this. It's Lakota work. Maybe it will help show your good intentions." Touched by the unexpected kindness, Martha squeezed the woman's hand. Thank you, Sarah. At noon, Martha and Wichapi entered the town hall where the council had gathered. The room fell silent as they walked to the center. Mayor Franklin spoke first. Mrs. Wilson, we understand your compassion in saving this child, but harboring her puts us all at risk. Chief Running Wolf is known for his ferocity. She's a child, Martha replied firmly, and I intend to return her to her father. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A local rancher stood up. And bring his warriors down on us? He'll think we kidnapped her? That's why I must go myself, Martha explained, to show our peaceful intentions. It's suicide, Sheriff Brooks interjected. The army should handle this. The army? Martha scoffed. The same army that's been driving these people from their lands? No, this requires trust and humanity, not more threats. The debate continued until the door of the town hall burst open. A tall figure stood silhouetted against the bright sunlight, a Lakota warrior in full regalia. Gasps and screams erupted as several men reached for their weapons. "Hold!" Sheriff Brooks commanded, his own gun drawn. "Nobody move!" The warrior stepped forward, his eyes scanning the room until they rested on Wichapi. The child gave a cry of recognition and would have run to him if Martha hadn't held her protectively. "I am Swift Eagle," the man announced in perfect English, surprising everyone. "I come for Morning Star, daughter of Chief Running Wolf." Martha felt Wichapi, Morning Star, trembling against her. Not with fear, she realized, but with excitement. The child recognized this man. "How do we know you're who you say?" Sheriff Brooks demanded, gun still raised. Swift Eagle's gaze never left Morning Star as he replied, "Ask the child. She knows her father's friend." Martha knelt beside the girl. "Is this man your friend, Wichapi? Morning Star?" The child nodded vigorously, a smile breaking across her face for the first time. "Wambli Luzahan," she said, pointing at the warrior. Martha stood, decision made. "He's come for her peacefully. We should respect that." Swift Eagle stepped closer, addressing Martha directly. "You saved her from the river. Our scouts saw your courage when others stood by. Chief Running Wolf wishes to thank you himself." A shocked silence fell over the room. The idea of a white woman being invited to a Lakota camp was unprecedented. "That's out of the question," Mayor Franklin sputtered. "Mrs. Wilson is a respectable widow. She can't travel to a savage camp." Swift Eagle's expression hardened at the insult, but he remained composed. "The chief has given his word of safe passage and return. He wishes to thank the woman who saved his only child when your people would let her drown." The accusation hung heavy in the air, undeniable in its truth. Martha stepped forward. "I accept the chief's invitation. Morning Star deserves to be returned to her father by the person who found her." As the council erupted in protests, Martha's eyes met Swift Eagle's. In his gaze, she saw something unexpected. Respect, gratitude, and perhaps something more that made her heart beat faster. Whatever dangers lay ahead, Martha knew her path was set. She would return Morning Star to her father and perhaps in doing so, bridge a divide that had claimed too many lives on both sides. The morning mist still clung to the Missouri River as Martha prepared for her journey. She had spent a restless night at Emma's cabin, her mind churning with doubts and fears, yet her resolve remained unshaken. Morning Star, Wichapi, had slept peacefully beside her, secure in the knowledge that she would soon be reunited with her father. Swift Eagle waited at the edge of town with 3 horses. The warrior's imposing presence had caused the townsfolk to keep their distance, watching from windows and doorways as Martha approached with Morning Star's small hand in hers. "The child rides with you," Swift Eagle said, helping Martha onto a gentle mare. His hands were strong but careful as he lifted Morning Star up to sit before Martha. "How far is your camp?" Martha asked, adjusting her skirts and the small pack containing provisions Emma had insisted she take. 2 days' ride, Swift Eagle replied, mounting his own horse with fluid grace. "We will travel north along the river, then west into the hills." Sheriff Brooks approached on horseback, his expression grim. "I'm escorting you to the territorial boundary, Martha." The council insisted. Swift Eagle's face remained impassive, but Martha noticed his hand move subtly toward the knife at his belt. "That won't be necessary, Thomas," Martha said firmly. "Swift Eagle has guaranteed my safety. An Indian's guarantee isn't worth—" "Enough," Martha interrupted. Your presence will only create tension. I'm going with Swift Eagle of my own free will, and I trust him to see me safely to Chief Running Wolf and back." The sheriff's face reddened. "You're being foolish, Martha. These people saved me from a loveless marriage back east." Martha cut in, surprising herself with the admission. "My late husband brought me west against my wishes, Sheriff. His death, while tragic, gave me freedom I never had before. I won't surrender that freedom to fear or prejudice." Sheriff Brooks stared at her, clearly taken aback by her candor. Finally, he nodded curtly. "On your head be it then. But if you're not back in 5 days, I'm bringing the cavalry to find you. I'll return when Morning Star is safely home and her father has had a chance to express his gratitude," Martha replied. "However long that takes." With that, she nudged her horse forward, following Swift Eagle out of town. Morning Star sat contentedly before her, occasionally pointing at birds or animals and whispering their Lakota names. They rode in silence for several hours, the rhythm of the horse's hooves and the whisper of wind through the prairie grass, the only sounds accompanying them. Martha studied Swift Eagle's straight back and proud posture, wondering about the man beneath the warrior's exterior. When they stopped to rest the horses by a small stream, Martha gathered her courage. "You speak English very well," she observed as Swift Eagle helped Morning Star drink from the clear water. A shadow passed over his face. "I was taken to the white man's school when I was 10. They thought they could remove the Lakota from me, but they couldn't," Martha said softly. Swift Eagle looked at her with surprise, as if unused to being understood. "No, the Lakota ways remain in my heart. But I learned the white man's tongue, his writing, his numbers, knowledge that serves my people now. Is that why Chief Running Wolf trusts you with his daughter's rescue?" A rare smile touched Swift Eagle's lips as he watched Morning Star chase a butterfly. "Running Wolf and I grew up together. We are as brothers. When the soldiers came to take children to their schools, his father hid him. My father thought the white man's knowledge would give me power." His eyes found Martha's. He was not entirely wrong. Martha felt a connection forming between them, a bridge of understanding across vastly different worlds. "I lost my parents young," she offered. "My husband was chosen for me by my uncle. He was not kind." Swift Eagle nodded, his eyes reflecting comprehension without pity. "Many marriages among my people are arranged too, but a man who does not honor his wife brings shame to himself and his family." The simplicity of his statement, the inherent respect it contained, touched Martha deeply. Before she could respond, Morning Star ran back to them, tugging at Swift Eagle's hand, chattering excitedly in Lakota. He listened solemnly before replying in the same language. The child's face lit up, and she ran back to the stream's edge, watching intently. "What did she say?" Martha asked. "She saw a turtle. In our stories, turtle helped create the earth. She wanted to know if this was that turtle." His eyes crinkled slightly. "I told her this turtle is a descendant, still carrying the earth on its back." As they continued their journey, Swift Eagle began pointing out plants and explaining their uses: medicines, foods, dyes for clothing. Martha listened, fascinated by the deep knowledge of the land and its gifts. By nightfall, they made camp in a sheltered hollow. Swift Eagle built a small fire while Martha prepared a simple meal from their provisions. Morning Star watched every movement, occasionally helping in small ways, gathering twigs or handing Martha items from her pack. After eating, the child curled up beside Martha, falling asleep almost immediately. Martha stroked her hair gently, marveling at the trust this small being placed in her. "She has taken to you," Swift Eagle observed from across the fire, his face illuminated by the dancing flames. "It is unusual. Our children are taught caution around Wasiku, white people. Children know when they're safe," Martha replied. "They see beyond the differences adults create." Swift Eagle was quiet for a long moment. Running Wolf's wife died bringing Morning Star into the world. The chief has raised her with the help of the women in our village, but she has never known a mother's touch. The revelation settled in Martha's heart, explaining the child's immediate attachment. "I'm sorry for his loss. For her loss. Every child deserves a mother's love." "And you? You have no children?" Swift Eagle asked. Martha looked away. "No, my husband. He wanted sons, but none came. He blamed me. A foolish man." Swift Eagle said simply. Among my people, children are a blessing from Wakantanka, the Great Spirit, but the blame for their absence falls on no one. Martha felt tears threatening and blinked them away. Your people are wise in ways mine have forgotten. They fell into a comfortable silence, the fire crackling between them. Martha felt a strange peace descend upon her. Here, miles from any settlement, in the company of a Lakota warrior and a sleeping child, she had never felt safer. Tomorrow we will reach my people, Swift Eagle said eventually. Some will welcome you for saving Morning Star. Others will be suspicious. And Chief Running Wolf? Swift Eagle's expression softened. He will honor you as the savior of his greatest treasure. But be prepared. He is a proud man, not used to owing debts to Wasiku. I don't want his debt, Martha said honestly. Any person with a heart would have done the same. Swift Eagle's gaze was penetrating. But they did not. You alone entered the water when others watched. That took courage few possess. Under his admiring gaze, Martha felt a warmth spread through her that had nothing to do with the fire. As she settled down to sleep beside Morning Star, she wondered at the strange turn her life had taken. In saving a child, had she perhaps saved herself as well? Swift Eagle took the first watch. His silhouette against the starlit sky, the last thing Martha saw before sleep claimed her. In her dreams, she rode free across endless plains. A child's laughter and a warrior's deep voice accompanying her into a future she had never dared imagine. The Lakota encampment came into view by midday. Martha's heart raced as she saw the dozens of teepees arranged in a great circle, smoke rising from their tops into the clear blue sky. Children paused in their play to watch the approaching riders, and women stopped their work, some moving protectively toward their young. Morning Star bounced excitedly in front of Martha, pointing and chattering in Lakota. Swift Eagle raised his hand in greeting and called out in his native tongue. A ripple of activity spread through the camp. I've told them Morning Star returned safely, he explained to Martha, and that you are under my protection. As they approached, a tall, imposing figure emerged from the largest teepee at the center of the circle. Even from a distance, Martha could see the authority in his bearing, the elaborate feathers in his headdress marking his status. Chief Running Wolf stood waiting, his face an unreadable mask. The moment they entered the camp, Morning Star could hardly contain herself. Swift Eagle brought their horses to a stop, and Martha helped the child down. With a cry of joy, Morning Star ran to her father, who knelt to receive her in his arms. The stern mask dropped away as he embraced his daughter, his face transformed by relief and love. Martha watched from horseback, suddenly uncertain of her place in this reunion. Swift Eagle dismounted and came to help her down. Come, he said quietly. The chief wishes to meet the woman who saved his daughter. With legs stiff from riding, Martha followed Swift Eagle toward Running Wolf, who now stood with Morning Star clinging to his hand. The chief's dark eyes assessed Martha with an intensity that made her want to look away, but she held his gaze, determined to show respect rather than fear. Swift Eagle spoke in Lakota, gesturing to Martha. The chief listened, his expression softening slightly as his daughter added her own excited words, pointing to the river and making swimming motions. Finally, Running Wolf spoke in English, his voice deep and measured. My daughter says you dove into the great water when your own people stood watching. She says you held her safely and sang to her in the night. Martha swallowed hard. Any mother would have done the same, Chief Running Wolf. But you are not a mother, he observed. No, Martha admitted, but every child deserves protection, regardless of whose child they are. Running Wolf studied her for a long moment before nodding. You have wisdom, Martha Wilson, and courage. My people honor both. He placed his hand over his heart. I stand in your debt. There is no debt between those who value children's lives, Martha replied. A rare smile touched the chief's lips. Swift Eagle said you would answer thus. Come, you will be our honored guest. Tonight we feast to celebrate Morning Star's return and to honor her savior. Martha was led to a teepee prepared for her use. Women brought fresh water and clean garments, a beautifully beaded dress of soft deerskin. Though hesitant at first, Martha accepted their help in changing, understanding it would offend to refuse their hospitality. As the sun began its descent, the camp came alive with preparation for the feast. Martha sat with Morning Star, who had refused to leave her side, watching as the child showed her various treasures: a small doll made of corn husks, colorful stones, a tiny bow her father had made for her. Swift Eagle appeared at the teepee entrance. "May I enter?" "Of course," Martha replied, noting how the fading sunlight caught the planes of his face, highlighting his strong features. He sat cross-legged on the ground beside them. "You look like one of our women now," he observed, his eyes appreciative. "The dress suits you." Martha felt her cheeks warm. "Your people have shown me great kindness. They honor what you did. Among us, all children belong to the tribe, not just to their parents. To risk yourself for a child not your own. This is the Lakota way." Morning Star climbed into Swift Eagle's lap, speaking rapidly in Lakota. He listened gravely before answering her. "What did she say?" Martha asked. Swift Eagle's expression was difficult to read. "She asks if you will stay and be her mother." Martha's heart constricted. "Oh, what did you tell her?" "That such things are for the spirits to decide." His eyes held Martha's. "And for you." Before Martha could respond, drums began to beat, signaling the start of the celebration. Swift Eagle rose, offering his hand to help Martha up. "Come, Running Wolf awaits." The entire tribe gathered around great fires at the center of the camp. Martha was seated in a place of honor beside the chief, with Swift Eagle on her other side. As food was shared and stories told, Martha observed the deep community bonds among the Lakota. Children moved freely from lap to lap, elders were treated with profound respect, and every member seemed to have a valued place in the circle. Running Wolf rose to speak, his voice carrying across the gathering. In Lakota, he told the story of his daughter's rescue, with Swift Eagle translating quietly for Martha. The chief spoke of the river spirit that had carried his daughter safely to Martha's arms, of the courage of a woman who defied her own people to save a Lakota child. "Tonight, we welcome Martha Wilson not as Wasiku, but as Wikoni, water of life," Running Wolf concluded. "For she brought life from the waters when death seemed certain." The tribe repeated the name, Wikoni, and Martha felt tears spring to her eyes at being given a Lakota name, at being accepted despite the divisions between their peoples. After the formal ceremony, as families gathered in smaller groups around the fires, Morning Star fell asleep in her father's arms. Running Wolf beckoned to Martha. "My daughter has known few women's influences since her mother walked the spirit path," he said. "She speaks of you as one speaks of the stars, with wonder and longing." Martha glanced at the sleeping child. "She is precious, Chief Running Wolf. You have raised her well." "I have tried," he acknowledged. "But a child needs both father's strength and mother's heart." He studied Martha thoughtfully. "Swift Eagle tells me you live alone among your people, that you have found freedom, but perhaps also solitude." Martha was startled by his insight. "Yes. Widowhood has given me independence, but the heart was not made to beat alone," Running Wolf finished. He looked meaningfully at Swift Eagle, who stood nearby, pretending not to listen. "My brother has not taken a wife. Since returning from the white man's school, he has stood between our worlds, belonging fully to neither." Martha's pulse quickened as she understood the chief's implication. "Chief Running Wolf, He held up his hand. "I do not presume to arrange what only the heart can decide. I merely observe that two souls sometimes find each other across the greatest divides." He rose with his sleeping daughter. "Think on it, Wikoni. Your place among us need not end when the sun rises." As Running Wolf carried Morning Star to their teepee, Martha sat alone by the fire, her thoughts whirling. Could she truly consider a life so different from everything she had known? Would the Lakota truly accept her, or would she forever be an outsider? Swift Eagle approached, sitting beside her. For a long while they watched the flames in silence. "Running Wolf spoke to you of staying," he said finally. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Martha admitted. "But how could it work? Our worlds are so different." Swift Eagle took her hand, his touch gentle yet sure. "Perhaps that is why the spirits brought you here. Not just to save Morning Star, but to help build a bridge between our peoples." "Your people might accept me because of what I did for Morning Star," Martha said. "But my people would never understand. Some would not." Swift Eagle acknowledged. But others might follow your example. Change begins with a single step, a single choice. His eyes held hers. I have lived in both worlds, Martha Wilson. I know their strengths and weaknesses. Together, perhaps we could take what is best from each. Martha's heart raced at his words, at the future they offered. And Morning Star? She needs stability, not uncertainty. She needs love. Swift Eagle corrected gently, which you have already given freely. The rest we would find a way to provide. As if sensing her continued hesitation, Swift Eagle continued, I do not ask for your answer tonight. Return to your settlement if you must. But know that among the Lakota, you have found those who see your true spirit. His hand tightened around hers, and at least one who hopes you will return. The next morning, Martha prepared for her journey back to Riverdale. Running Wolf provided an escort of warriors to ensure her safety, though Swift Eagle insisted on leading them himself. As they reached the point where the settlement came into view, Swift Eagle signaled the other warriors to wait, while he accompanied Martha the remaining distance. I will come in 7 days, he said, to hear your decision, if you are ready to give it. Martha nodded, her throat tight with emotion. And if I choose to return with you, then we will face whatever comes together, he promised. As equals. Martha touched his face gently, a gesture that spoke more than words. Then she turned her horse toward town, riding the last distance alone. Sheriff Brooks was the first to spot her. Martha, thank God, he exclaimed, riding out to meet her. We were about to send for the cavalry. Are you hurt? I'm fine, Thomas, Martha assured him. The Lakota treated me with nothing but respect and gratitude. The townspeople gathered as Martha dismounted in the town square. Questions flew from all directions, about the Lakota camp, about her treatment, about Chief Running Wolf. Mayor Franklin pushed through the crowd. Mrs. Wilson, while your safe return is a relief, your reckless behavior has put this entire settlement at risk. Consorting with savages. They are not savages, Martha interrupted firmly. They are people with different ways, different beliefs, but with the same love for their children, the same hopes for their future. You defend them after they've raided settlements, killed innocent. And how many of their innocent have we killed? Martha challenged. How many of their lands have we taken? Their hunting grounds destroyed? She looked around at the crowd. I've seen both sides now. There is good and bad in each. But there could be peace if we tried to understand rather than fear. You sound like one of them, someone called out. Martha stood straighter. Perhaps I am becoming one of them. And perhaps that's not the tragedy you think it is. For the next 7 days, Martha settled her affairs in Riverdale. She sold her small homestead to Emma, who had always admired it. She distributed her few possessions among those who could use them. And she wrote letters explaining her decision to the few friends she had back east. On the 7th day, Swift Eagle appeared at the edge of town, alone this time. Martha rode out to meet him, her few remaining belongings packed on a second horse. Sheriff Brooks intercepted her at the town boundary. Martha, think about what you're doing. Throwing away civilization for what? Martha smiled gently. Not throwing away, Thomas. Building something new. Something that might help both our peoples find a better way forward. She rode on to where Swift Eagle waited, his face lighting with joy as he saw her approach with her packed horse. You have decided, he said. I have, Martha confirmed. My place is with Morning Star, with your people. She hesitated, then added softly, with you, if you'll have me. Swift Eagle's smile was like the breaking of dawn. The spirits have blessed us, Mniwakoni. Come, our future awaits. As they rode toward the distant hills, Martha felt not the closing of a door, but the opening of a new world. One where the courage to dive into unknown waters had led not just to saving a child, but to saving herself. And perhaps, in some small way, to building a bridge between worlds that had stood apart for too long.